Welcome to Put Your Cards on the Table, the only podcast that's going to send a private police force to your front door. I'm back again with my friend Isaac.
Hello, I'm Isaac.
Yay! I'm glad that you're Isaac.
Yeah, and together we're the podcast.
The podcast bros.
That's
The
us.
super podcast bros.
That's right.
Today we've got two kind of ideas for what to talk about. First off, want to get the situation out of the way with the whole Pinkerton raid, and second, I'm gonna have Isaac kind of rate some Legends of Runeterra cards because I play a lot of that game, and it's a fun little card game, and I'm stealing the idea from other YouTubers.
That's right.
I think it's fun. Yeah.
If you thought you were going to get away with coming and tuning in this week and not getting to hear about a private police force,
I'm so sorry.
then you came to the wrong place, partner.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and start with that. For anyone unaware, some March of the Machine Aftermath cards got leaked online way before the date that they were supposed to, and Wizards of the Coast, in all their benevolent genius, went, shit, we need to figure out how he got a hold of these cards, whether he's part of some dealings like stealing cards from Wizards, or maybe his card shop was at fault, someone else he's connected to is stealing cards from us. We gotta figure that out. So naturally, they sent a fucking Pinkerton force to his front door to intimidate him.
Yeah,
Like,
and
awesome.
if I'm remembering correctly, so the Pinkertons have largely in the United States been essentially like a union busting force.
Yeah.
They've been around since like the 19th century. They've got a lot of history.
That
And then
generally not well regarded history.
yes,
The name
yeah.
is not that great.
Yeah, it goes way back, kind of synonymous with violence and
And fuckery.
you know and violence and fuckery in various industries. So that's pretty fun. I would kind of like to posit the question, do you think that it was a reasonable step taken by Wizards of the Coast? Now, it also wasn't like this wasn't like a SWAT raid or
No,
anything
no,
like
indeed.
that. It's essentially suits coming to your door, right? Nobody's busting your door down with guns and stuff like that. But so what do you think? Do you think that's a reasonable step?
Well, I think that you can probably guess my answer here. I do want to say, like, regardless of whether it was like intimidation, obviously not by force, but just like having people show up at your door and be like, "Hey, what's up?" Like, that's never a fun thing.
Right.
Um, no, it's not reasonable, and I will posit exactly why. First off, let's see here, right? If someone is stealing cards from Wizards of the Coast, whether it's this guy that leaked it or someone at his card store, he claims, or this person, I think it's a guy, claims that he got his cards on accident. He just bought them at his card shop and
Yeah.
brought them home and was like, "Oh shit, this is Aftermath," which I don't know how believable that is. Regardless, stealing cards is not a good thing to do. However, if we were to put that on a crime scale, right? Stealing cards, whether on purpose or on accident, from a multi-million dollar corporation for a children's card game, it is not good, but sending a private police force to the front door of someone who stole your product as a corporation, it's worse. Like
Agreed.
it's just worse.
Yeah.
Like you can't spin this like yeah, don't steal cards, but don't fucking have a corporation buy a police force and show up at some guy's front door. Like that's fucked up. You can't do that.
Yeah, and regardless of to how much of the guy's story is true, because to my understanding, he claimed that essentially purchased from X, Y, or Z person his March of the Machines product, was not aware that Aftermath product was mixed in, because if I remember correctly, he bought two boxes. One of
Yeah.
them was March of the Machines, and one happened to be Aftermath. And then of course, like leaks, exploded online. We've seen the whole set already. Um, and so you know, discussion aside on like how true that story is, of how intentional, I don't think that he bought it intentionally. I think he probably opened them intentionally.
Yeah, for sure.
Whatever. Uh, yeah, absolutely an overreaction. It was alleged that, according to this guy, the agents that came to his home,
Yeah.
uh, uh, apparently discussed the possibility of like jail time and like grandstanded some potential of extremely financially weighed lawsuits and stuff as
Yeah.
well.
It was
Um,
intimidation for sure.
it absolutely is intimidation. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, it's wise not to forget that.
Yeah. And like again, neither of these things are good, but on a scale of crime, like that, corporations should not be able to enforce laws on their own. If Wizards of the Coast wanted to get a hold of this guy, they should have. Apparently, they did try to get in contact with him, like have some discussion beforehand. But I really think the better way to go would just be to go and talk to him, like give him a
No kidding.
call.
Yeah,
Don't send people to his front door. That's
an
so
email.
scary. Yeah. Just keep trying. Like, hey, we need to know the numbers on the
Yeah,
back of these packs. We need to know where they came from. You
yeah,
know,
and to my understanding, they did essentially have some discussions either before or after this,
yeah,
essentially revolving around that. Like, hey, like we're not terribly upset with you. Like we're not like this isn't necessarily your fault. We just want to know like where this came from, so we can figure out where the leak came from and stuff. Because obviously these products weren't
yeah.
supposed to be on the market yet.
So why
So
did they send people to his front door?
exactly, it's completely uncalled for. And not to get too political here, a fun phrase to say before getting political, but just never forget that the law is not here to protect you and I. It's here to protect corporations.
Yeah, yeah. It's it's just kind of disastrous because at the end of the day, nothing bad came of it. Like the Pinkertons didn't break this guy's fucking kneecaps and there was
No,
public
no.
outcry. But I certainly think that that the whole fan base is still not happy with WotC, which is just incredible that they keep fucking taking L's.
Yeah,
Every chance they get, WotC is
they're
ruining
addicted.
their reputation. It's
They're
incredible.
addicted to L's.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's truly incredible. I have no idea who greenlit all of these ideas. Ah. One interesting idea, I heard this actually on the Dice to Removal podcast, and I just thought it was a very important thing to bring up. That is between Pleasant Kenobi and the professor from Tolarian Academy
Quick
College.
quick shout out to the up and coming Dies to Removal podcast.
Yeah, yeah. We like to shout out smaller shows here on
Yeah,
Put Your Cards on
yeah,
the Table.
we
You
love
know.
supporting the community and all the creators therein. So
Yeah. It's pretty important. Yeah, I don't know if you've heard of either of those people if you're in the Magic sphere. You know, we got like 10 subscribers, so we're like 3 times their size, I think.
yeah, for sure. Definitely check them out, guys.
Yeah, go check them out. Um but I love listening to those guys, and they
Absolutely.
brought up a really good point, and that was why don't they do what Games Workshop does when there are spoilers? Essentially, like some models for Games Workshop got spoiled, so Games Workshop's those are the Warhammer guys for anyone who's not aware. Essentially said, "Oh shit! Look, we got infiltrated by like some of these Warhammer characters. Guess we gotta release the whole set now." And then they showed off like the leakers'
Right.
paint jobs and stuff. And like, imagine if WotC did that instead. Oh shit! Aftermath got spoiled. Well, we're just gonna, we got invaded by Demir agents, as Dice to Removal said, and then they send out their preview cards to all of their creators early. And then you undermine the leaks because all
Yeah.
of that attention is going back to the creators like it should
True.
be. It's just earlier than usual. And you don't send the Pinkertons to the guy's house.
Yeah, that's true. That's
I
true.
think that was such a better idea. I have no idea why their
That's
first
a very easy
reaction.
solution. I frankly,
Yeah.
this first I've heard of that solution, but I can't, I mean, certainly I haven't had time to ruminate upon it, but I can't really come up with any downsides to that scenario
Yeah.
other than the downside it's trying to mitigate, which is like, dang, spoilers got
Yeah,
out too
someone got
soon.
spoiled. Yeah. And like I don't understand how WotC can have a board meeting like, hey, we need to get these rappers back, and the first reaction is send the police to the guy's house.
Yeah.
I don't get it. I have no idea what they're thinking. But I don't necessarily want to dwell on this topic horribly long. I think it's very obvious that WotC is in the wrong here, and that they have
Yep.
made yet another huge mistake. And I don't think it needs much more discussion than that.
That's right. I
Uh,
would be inclined to agree. Ladies and gentlemen, never bow to corporate violence.
True. Good lord. Unfortunately, we don't have many actions we can really take here. The biggest thing is like boycott sets, but like no one's gonna do that. Is the
Yeah.
problem. I might not do that, you know.
That's kind of the ongoing problem
Yeah.
with very consumer intense brands like this. Especially in the case of things like Magic the Gathering. Obviously, people have had a lot of concerns over the last couple of years. It's pretty hard to mobilize a populace to try and enact something like that when it's literally a brand based on consumerism, right? Like they're collectible card games, trading card
Yeah.
games. It's different from like a video game, which is like, yes, it's based on consumerism in that you purchase it and you play it, but the entire mechanic of a collectible card game is that they keep making more and you keep buying more,
Yeah.
right? And so when that's the hobby, when buying the thing is the hobby rather than I mean, playing the thing is also the hobby, but like I said, it's called a collectible card game for a
Hmm.
reason. Buying the thing is part of the hobby too. So that makes it a lot harder to. That's oftentimes the discussion around like, oh, should there be like a boycott, stuff like that, is quite a difficult circumstance because of that. And because even if there was a boycott, how many people would continue to buy the thing? Would it really even affect the bottom line? Would it make any change?
Yeah.
It's a big conversation.
Uh,
So
Another thing is like it's really hard for I'm sure that the suits up at WotC aren't going to make changes unless they see a physical number go
right,
down. And that's really hard to do with magic sets because, people like you said, it's collectible. People will be buying every set regardless. And there may
right,
be, valleys and peaks in that graph. But at the end of the day, it's not like if Final Fantasy 14 fucked up one day and everyone cancels their Final Fantasy 14 subscription and the player base drops by 15%, like Square Enix is going to know they fucked
right,
up and is going to rectify that because they physically see a number drop, whereas WotC does not have that.
right,
Their sales will remain generally consistent pretty much no matter what, unless a massive player movement takes place.
right, exactly.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's truly incredible that they keep huffing L's.
Astounding.
But what do you say we move on to something a bit more fun? Play a nice little game, like I said, stolen from other YouTubers like
Yeah,
Smooey and Laren.
tell me more about this, Mason. What's the game plan here? What do you plan to inflict upon me?
All right, so I have here 10 cards from Legends of Runeterra, the online card game from Riot Games. I think that you are at least a tiny bit familiar with it.
Yeah, I played it a little bit when it came out.
Yeah,
I've intended to get back into it a few times, but I'm addicted to procrastinating. So I
fair.
haven't done that, which is good for content.
Yeah, exactly. I can exploit that now.
That's right.
I, on the other hand, have played every single season. I'm a little bit of a master player myself. What can
Oh,
I
very
say?
nice.
Just a nice high rank. But I'm gonna show you 10 cards. If you have any questions about like mechanics and keywords, as I'm sure you are not caught up, obviously, so I'm sure
Right.
that there will be that. I will gladly explain that to you.
Absolutely.
But I am going to have you rate them on 4 different tiers, and I'll tell you after your decision and kind of explain why. And those 4 different tiers are going to be bad, mid, good, or meta breaking.
Okay.
So just kind of a general overview, give a general range. Like I think this good is like high mid to low good, and then I'll explain why you're horrifically wrong.
Right on.
Sound good? Sound good?
Sounds great.
All
Sounds
right.
excellent.
Well, let's
Let's
get
let's
started
educate.
here. I'm gonna just paste these into the Discord chat. Hello?
Sounds lovely.
Or maybe I won't do that. I can't copy and paste
Is it a
from.
is it a WebP file?
No, it's I have the images copied onto a Google Doc where I was keeping notes, but I can't copy and paste images from there, which
Do you want
are
to share your
interesting.
Google Doc with me?
The answers are on there is the
Wow.
thing. Here, I will simply take screenshots. They might be a little bit
There we
hard
go.
to read. So,
Nope, all good.
for video watchers, I will put up these cards. For audio listeners, you'll just have to pay attention, I'm afraid. So,
Nice. Production.
yeah, we're gonna start off with one of your favorite league champions in
I am a
Legends of
big
Runeterra.
I am a big Udyr fan.
Yes, this is Udyr. This is a couple of sets old now champion, currently in standard rotation. Let me give the viewers here a rundown. So Udyr is a champion card. This means when you fulfill a certain requirement, you will transform into a better form. Legends of Runeterra, you can have you can have up to 3 copies of every card in your deck, and you can have up to 6 champion cards total. So usually that means 3 of 2 different champions. Although I guess you could put 1 copy of 6 different in your deck. People do that. Udyr is a 5 mana 5/4. When he is summoned or when he strikes, so if he deals damage ever, create a stance swap in hand, or if you already have one, reduce its cost to 0. And I'll explain what those are in a bit, and then his level up condition is once you've played Stance Swap 3 times this game. He doesn't have to be on the board to see that, just play Stance Swap 3 times. Leveled up Udyr is a 5 mana 6/5 that has the same thing. When he summoned or strikes, create a Stance Swap in hand, or if you have one, reduce its cost to 0, and he has +1/+1 for each Stance Swap you've played this game. So when Udyr levels up, he will immediately be a 5 mana 9/8.
Right.
Stance Swap is a 3-cost slow spell, which means that the opponent can react to it very easily with fast or burst spells of their own. Stance Swap says grant a stance to an ally. That can be Bear Stance, which gives something +2/+2. Boar Stance, which gives them 2 health and regeneration, which refills their health to full each round because damage
Okay,
sticks.
so it makes them play by magic rules.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
In LOR, damage sticks like in Hearthstone, so regeneration removes that. They return to full health. Ram Stance, which is pick a unit and deal 1 to everything else. That includes the Nexuses. You start at 20 health.
Okay.
And Wild Claw Stance, which gives a unit +2/+0 and Overwhelm, which is the equivalent of Trample. So,
All right.
what you kind of thinking here? This is a lot.
All right.
I just said a lot,
so
I know.
I had a bit of an emotional roller coaster while reading
Yeah.
through this. So right off the bat, so I have 2 inherent biases before this is before I even read the abilities, right?
Yeah.
My first inherent bias is, oh my gosh, Udyr, I love Udyr because I do love him,
And
he is my real life best friend.
LOR Udyr is also super fucking sick. I think it's way cooler than in-game Udyr. His voice lines go hard.
Oh, nice. Also, I'm noticing that they have essentially still Tiger Stance, but no Phoenix Stance.
Yeah.
A little bit of a combination of his old abilities and his new ones, so I thought that was interesting. Anywho, so the 2 immediate biases I have is, one of them is, oh my god, I love Udyr. That's so cool, which makes me want to say a bunch of nice things about it. But then the second thing that I have is, like, also being an Udyr player for a long time before the Udyr rework is my immediate thought is like,
Udyr is bad.
Exactly, like no way they're gonna do him dirty. Absolutely. However, so first I will say I don't think it's enough to be meta defining or meta breaking. And what's the name of the tier? Meta breaking?
Yeah, meta breaking is what
I don't think it's enough to break a meta simply because of the cost associated with it, not necessarily Udyr's cost. I mean, and I know he does reduce the cost of the stance swap, but like that is a respectable amount to have to pay.
Yeah.
When he summons or strikes, so you can make one or reduce one. That's once a turn, right? So yeah, so there's still a respectable amount of cost to be paid. Now, on the other hand, that is some solid card advantage just to be able to generate these effects that do things. I would put him. I would say I would be inclined to say because he's very versatile and also particularly I think Ram Stance. Um, 'Cause what this card looks like to me is really solid as a like essentially like a control finisher
Mhm.
is what I see this as, especially alongside Ram Stance and the evolved version of Udyr. Because if I'm understanding this correctly, you can just play Ram Stance, and yes, he'll take the damage, but also gives him +1/+1
Yes,
when you
exactly.
play it.
So he'll
So
remain at the
it's
same health.
exactly so he remains at the same health, and everybody else gets a little bit of dunking on. And can they have multiple stances at once?
Yes, yeah, you can just stack this on top of each other forever.
So you could give him Boar Stance and then Ram Stance like every turn.
Yep,
And
and it'll heal that
okay,
damage back. Yeah.
right on. Okay, well I think this card is the tier below meta
So
breaking, like
good.
very
You think this card is
good.
good?
Yes, this is what I think.
That is fair. I will say this card is mid at best. They
Damn.
did do Udyr a little bit dirty. So a big part of this, right, is that he's just a 5 mana 5/4, and when he hits the
Right.
board, that's a little bit low. Legends of
Right.
Runeterra is relatively fast. Interestingly, you can preserve spell mana over multiple turns.
Okay.
I don't know if other viewers would know this either. So, if you end a round with excess mana in Legends of Runeterra, say that you end the turn with 2 mana that you didn't spend, it'll be stored in your spell mana, which goes up to
Right.
3. You can store 3 mana as spell mana, and then that is just permanent until you spend it. Whenever you cast a spell, it uses spell mana first.
Right. Gotcha.
So, it makes his spells a little bit cheaper. However, there's just not quite enough value and it's a little too slow.
But yeah, it's a matter of he's a 5/4 when he comes into play and doesn't immediately grant you any
Yeah,
benefits.
you have to stack these effects on him.
Right.
I
Gotcha.
will say though, he is one of the least popular champions in the game. I love Udyr and I have been playing him in a deck that specifically counters a deck in the meta right now, and it's
Nice.
really fun. Um
Glorify him.
Yeah, a big part of that is Ram Stance. So a really popular champion right now is Fizz. Fizz is super fucking annoying. If you target him with spells and then your opponent casts a spell, it cancels everything that targets him. It's super fucking annoying, but he has 1 health and Ram Stance doesn't target. So
Very
you can
nice.
just ping an entire board
That's pretty
full of
funny.
1-cost units. Yeah. So overall, pretty close. Your reasoning was very solid. It's just
Yeah.
kind of the place where the meta is right now. I
Yeah.
honestly think that he can be good.
Right
Um,
on.
but next up, we have this will be the only card that is not in the standard rotation right now. This is an eternal card. This is called Black Rose Spy. This is just a regular old creature.
Okay.
Black Rose Spy is a 2 mana 3/2 from Noxus that says Reputation. When I'm summoned, transform me into an exact copy of the strongest ally that struck this round. Reputation triggers if allies have struck for 5 or more damage at least 4 times this game. So
All right.
yeah, you have to
I've made
deal
my
5
mind on this
damage
one
4
already.
times. Yep, go ahead.
Oh wait, I have to do it 4 times,
Yeah, 5 damage 4 separate times.
and it has to be that same like game object has to deal that damage.
No. It can be anything. Any creature deals 5 damage.
Gotcha.
So
Okay.
if you have 2 units on board that both have
Mhm.
5 power and they attack and they both hit, that'll be halfway to Reputation because that'll
Got
be
it.
2 out of the
Okay.
4.
Okay. So it's like a game state kind
Yeah,
of thing.
exactly.
Okay.
Once you fulfill Reputation, it fulfills it for all cards the rest of the game. Yeah.
Okay. So how much life does a player have in Legends of Runeterra?
20.
And Reputation asks you to deal 20 damage.
Correct. That can be 2 creatures. Be aware that can be to anything.
Oh,
So,
to anything, right? Because you
yeah.
can be attacking.
Yeah, so
creatures as well.
if
Got it.
you're
Got
5/2
it.
and they block with a 1/1, that'll count as 1 hit.
That
for
makes more
Reputation.
sense. I was like,
Yeah.
hmm.
That seems bad. No, yeah.
Okay, so I'd be inclined to say that this card is meta breaking. Simply because at worst it's a 2 mana 3/2.
hmm
Which I mean, so obviously the reputation mechanic operates more strongly later in the game is
Yes.
just categorically true. Um, but at worst, if you play this on, let's say, turn two, you have a 2 mana 3/2. Now, I don't exactly know what the weight of like mana and like abilities are in this game compared to all I know is that if I was playing a 2 mana 3/2 with a huge upside later in the game in Magic, I'd be very pleased
Uh,
about it,
I
essentially.
will tell you one of the most popular cards before it was rotated in Legends of Runeterra
Mhm.
was a 1 mana 3/2 from Noxus that said it can't block. So a
Gotcha.
very aggressive card, but it was a 1 mana
Gotcha.
3/2.
Yeah, I'd be inclined to say that this card is meta breaking. It has a ton of upside later in the game. Now I know it's an Noxian card, and I know there now I don't know exactly how much like
Mhm.
a card's what's that called?
Region. Yeah, the
I don't know how much a
region.
card's region is going to play into making it better or worse, depending on like, obviously if it's a Noxian card, then you only have the opportunity of copying, Noxians or
Yeah.
other or it
One other region.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get what I'm going for. Um I also see that the rarity is purple,
Yeah, an
so
epic.
that's something at least.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go with meta breaking for this one.
Yeah, I forgot to mention for anyone who doesn't play LOR. Sorry, it's second nature to me, but I got to remember not everyone's a huge fucking nerd. In Legends of Runeterra, when you're building a deck, like I said, 3 copies of every card, and you can have 2 regions in your deck maximum. So these are different places. There's think of them like colors of magic. Like Noxus is the red region that likes to deal direct damage. Targon is like the enchanter region that focuses on unit buffs, So you can have up to 2 of those. I will say, however, Black Rose Spy is bad.
No, this is
Yeah,
terrible.
it is a terrible card.
So what makes it bad?
So yeah, that's completely fair. I like your reasoning overall. Again, coming from a Magic player, this makes a lot of sense. However, reputation usually gets triggered around, turn 5 or 6, a little bit later,
And
you're
the game's
right.
already over by then.
Yeah, usually it's getting towards the end. A big part of this as well is if you draw this before that, 2 mana 3/2 is mid, but you have that inherent want to hold on to it to get value,
Right.
right? So it's essentially just a hand
A
block.
little bit of a trap.
Whereas if you just put for example, there's a 2 mana 5/1 with Challenger. If you put that in your deck instead of
Right.
this, then you're a step closer to activating Reputation already on
Right.
turn 2 than if you just put this and
I
then it's stuck in your
see.
hand.
I
Um,
see.
I have literally never seen this card ever played. Ever.
Damn.
Yeah. Um, on paper, I do agree that it's cool and it sounds good, but in order for it to work, something big would have to change about it.
Yeah.
I like your
Okay.
reasoning though. Solid reasoning. I put this in to trick you, honestly. I'll be
This is a
honest.
tragedy. This
Yeah.
is an absolute tragedy.
All right, well moving
I
on.
clocked this as just a way better phantasmal image, which is like the
Yeah,
best
that's
clone in
fair.
Magic.
That's completely fair. I think it's really fun how different these games can be, even though like their
It's
systems
true.
are similar.
It's true.
Next up, Cosmic Youngling. This is a Targon creature. It is a 2 mana 1/4 that says round start, heal me and your Nexus, which is your health in this game,
Yeah.
for 1. So it heals itself and
A
the Nexus by
round start.
1.
Round is like just your turn, right? It
It's
would be
every
round start.
single turn, so it'll be yours and
Gotcha.
your opponent's.
Oh, okay, gotcha. That's pertinent.
hmm
Um, I'd be inclined to put this at the good tier, I think.
hmm
It seems like a good rate of health of what's it called? Health. Is that
Yeah.
what the red stat is called?
Yeah.
It seems like a good rate of health for mana. Obviously, one attack is not, going crazy, but I don't think you're playing this in a deck where you want it to have a high attack, right? This does not. This seems like you want to like you get more benefit from this the longer the game lasts
hmm
inherently. I'd be inclined to put this at the good tier. Getting 2 Nexus health back every turn seems. Now I guess I don't know exactly at what stages of the game, how much damage your Nexus is going to be taking, but
Hmm.
getting 2 of it back every
Every like
single
rotation.
every rotation, yeah, seems very solid to me. But I don't think it's anything crazy. So I'm gonna put it at the good tier.
Isaac, this is your first dead on guess.
Yeah.
This card is good. I almost put it into meta breaking actually.
Oh, okay.
So 4 health, for a 2 cost unit is insane in Legends of Runeterra. Legends of Runeterra, like I said, there's like a 5/1 with Challenger, which means that they get
Right.
to decide who they attack and can't block, which is like pretty good. But for the most part, this blocks everything else that's going to be on the board for turns
Right.
1 and 2. This is like the ultimate block against aggro decks, and it starts healing you. This
Right.
card single-handedly almost
It
shuts
beats
down
aggro.
aggro
Yeah.
decks. Yeah. If this drops on turn 2 and you're playing an aggro deck, you 90% of the time you should just concede. This card is really good.
Wow.
Yeah,
Right on.
yeah. I think that overall, the meta has adapted a little bit since it's been released. When this first came out, I saw it in like every single deck because everyone was
Gotcha.
playing aggro and it destroyed it. I think people have adapted, but yeah, it's very good, very good card. Very solid reasoning, very good guessing. We're gonna move right along. This will be the first. Well, we had a champion as well, but this will be our next non-creature card. This is a spell, a fast spell, which means
Okay.
you can cast it in. Excuse me. You can cast fast spells in response to anything that is not a burst spell. So if your
Right.
opponent plays a creature, you can cast a fast spell. If they play a slow spell, you can cast this in response. Same if it's a fast spell. There are 3 different speeds
Is it
in
sort of a
Legends
matter
of
of
Runeterra.
would burst be comparable to like split second?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, so essentially, like, slow spells would be sorceries, fast spells would be instants, burst spells would be, like, maybe even mana abilities. Like, your opponent doesn't get to react when you play a burst spell. So, it
Got it.
happens instantly.
All right.
This is Passage Unearned, a 3 mana fast spell from Shadow Isles that says obliterate all units that were summoned but not played this round.
Got it.
Obliterate means that they get destroyed without triggering Last Breath, which is like a death rattle
Oh,
effect,
I see.
and those units are not added to the death pool. So if they have like a
It's like
card
so
that
it's like
says
exile.
resurrect, yeah, exactly. It
Got it.
essentially exiles them.
Got it. Okay. All right. I mean, there's really one hinge on this card that I think is going to
Yes.
decide if I'm right or wrong here, which is how important is that clause of but not played. That's the
Yeah.
hinge on this card that's going to decide if I'm right or wrong. I'm gonna say that this is not like the horrible trash tier, but just the regular bad tier, the
Hmm.
like tier, I guess. I forget what you called all the tiers because I
I
have no short-term
I just
memory.
had like bad, mid, or good.
Gotcha. Okay, well I would put this at the bad one.
Hmm.
Simply because my inclination is to think that it needs to be able to hit ones that are played as well. And I feel like a lot of times you're going similar to the Black Rose Spy, you're gonna hold this in your hand. You're gonna be like, oh well, they maybe summoned one creature this turn.
Hmm.
It would be wasteful for me to for me to fire this off now um versus trying to get more value out of it when more things get summoned and more things might not get summoned.
Hmm.
I would also be inclined to say, so is there like is the stack a thing in lore?
Yes, yeah. So if you play like fast spell, fast spell, fast spell, it's exactly like the stack.
Well,
It'll be.
my second concern with this card is if
Mhm.
someone does an effect that summons a creature, does that go on the stack?
Some of them do. Yeah, there are some fast spells that say summon a creature.
Because my other concern with this card is that you would play the thing that summons a creature,
Yeah, and you
but
can't
like
cast this in response. You have to wait till next priority.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
but if that's the only thing that they play that summons cre summons units in that turn, and you don't get your chance to respond to it because like that's the only one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it seems kind of out of luck. So I would put this at like the mid to bad
Yeah,
area.
absolutely. You are once again correct. This card is
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
I once again have never seen this card played anywhere. A big thing is that there is one region in the game that's really good at summoning units, and that's Bandle City.
Mhm.
And Bandle City is an annoying little piece of shit that summons like a million units without playing them and is just a nice little value engine. This card would be great against Bandle City, but there's no best of 3 in lore, right? You
Right.
don't get to sideboard, so it's not worth running the spell because like it's gonna come in handy maybe one every 50 games you play, right? And
Right.
at that point, it's just better to run other
And
removal.
in my personal experience also, when it comes to not only removal, but especially like sweepers and like board
Yeah,
wipes and stuff, I mean, I think every game that I've played, you see this happen. It's pretty hard to justify running anything but the best ones.
yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, there's just a lot better removal for this. This is way too situational as its main
Yeah.
thing. Again, on paper, not necessarily a bad card. Could be really good into like Nora decks, which nobody knows what that is, but it's one of the champions that summons units. Would be really good into Nora, but yeah, it's too situational.
Right.
So nice. That's 2 in a row. Let's see how you do with this next one. We're gonna go back to our second champion now. This is Set.
Oh no, I feel like champions are going to be so much harder to
Champions are
judge.
very difficult. I would agree. Keep in mind, since you can only run like 6 champion cards total,
Mhm.
and they're usually 3 copies of 2 different champions, they're usually like win cons. Like
Yeah.
your deck is built around them.
Yeah.
So, Set is a 5 mana 4/5 champion from Ionia with Challenger. In Legends of Runeterra, they get to decide how they block, just like Magic the Gathering. Challenger, you get to decide what unit blocks that unit. So Set can choose who blocks him. The first time, I would drop below 1 health while attacking, give me Barrier instead. So if Set would die while he's attacking, he instead goes to 1 health and gains Barrier, which negates the next instance of
The
damage
like
he would be dealt.
Hearthstone's Divine Shield.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't stop
Gotcha.
like kill spells and stuff. It only stops damage.
Gotcha.
He levels up when you've spent 40 or more mana, and his level up is a 5 mana 5/6 with Challenger that says, while I'm attacking, I can't take damage or die, and each round create a Showstopper in hand once you've spent 12 or more mana. Showstopper is a 0-cost slow spell that says, obliterate an enemy, deal 1 to all other enemies and the enemy nexus. Showstopper is also ephemeral, which means that if you don't play it the round it comes into your hand,
Right.
it disappears at the end of the turn.
But there's also not really a reason not
Yeah,
to.
exactly. It's a 0-cost spell. You can also cast Showstopper. No, I think you do need a target. I don't remember.
Were you
I'm
gonna say you
pretty
could cast it,
sure.
like on the Nexus or something?
Yeah, I think that you can cast it with no target and deal 1 to everything, but I'm actually not sure on that. I don't remember.
Gotcha.
But so yeah, he's a big punchy boy that gives
Yeah.
himself barrier
All right.
and
So
doesn't
I've
die.
kind of made up my mind on this already.
Yeah, go for it.
And this is gonna be another one that has a big hinge on it.
Yeah.
I'll say, because I think now the thing that I don't know is how fast
Can you
does a
spend
player
40?
spend essentially 52 mana in
Yeah.
a game. If I'm understanding that right, you spend 40 and he levels up, and then you have to spend another 12, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. So really the question is, how fast does an average player spend 52 mana? I have no earthly idea.
Yeah.
So
I
think
can
that's,
give you an
I think-
idea if you want.
yeah, go ahead, because I think that's really going to define if this is, I think this is either the top tier or the bottom tier.
Set usually levels up, so you usually spend 40 mana around turn 7, 8, or 9, depending
Okay.
on how good your early start is. Because again, you can store mana like throughout rounds, so you can kind of do big bursts. Spending 12 mana in a single round is a little more difficult, but Set decks usually run ways to refill their mana. so they can
Oh,
usually do
so you
it.
do have to spend 12 mana per round.
Yes, yeah, every round. And that doesn't
Oh,
carry over. If you spend 6 mana and you pass the turn and the turn ends, it goes back down to 0, and you have to
right.
spend 12 again.
Okay. All right. I think this one's bad. I
All
think that
right.
takes too long from what you're describing, and I think I don't know. You made it sound like the 12 mana thing is not that big of a deal per
Yeah,
turn, but I still think it's too slow based on what I've learned today. So
that's
that's
fair.
what I think.
So, this card is actually good.
Damn it!
Yeah, the complete opposite. So, Set's really only played in one deck, and that is a super late game control deck
Makes
with
sense.
Set Karma. Overall, it is one of the only decks that can like reliably power through the early game burst of most aggro decks.
Right.
And once you level up Set, that game just fucking ends
Unstoppable.
because
Right.
Showstopper
Yeah.
is one of the
It's
best
crazy.
spells in the game.
Yeah, that much was evident to me, which is why I said it's going to be a matter of it's great or it's terrible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, yeah, so I'm glad to hear at least like my logic is sound.
Yeah, absolutely it is.
That in like most cases, that would be too it would have taken too long to get there. But
Yeah.
whatever specific tools this deck has
Yeah,
enables it to
exactly.
be able to do that. So
Uh
right on.
yeah, I was going to say it'll obviously be that's kind of the point is it's difficult. Of course, you don't know what the meta or other cards are
Right.
like. So this is just
Yeah.
like
So
snapshots into
Showstopper
it.
is very clearly an insane
Yeah,
card.
it's fucking wacky.
Yeah.
0 mana, obliterate something, and ping
Yeah.
everything for 1. Yeah, very good. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, your reasoning was definitely there, but not quite. Not quite there. Um,
Right on.
we will move on to the next one here.
How many of these bad boys we
We
got?
got we have 5. We're halfway through. We have
Okay.
5 out of 10, and
All right.
that's pretty reasonable. This has taken us about
I'm
20 minutes, and we got about 20 minutes left. So
I'm 2 for 5.
2 for 5, not bad.
It's
Honestly, not
better
bad
than I
coming from
thought.
completely outside.
Yeah.
This might be an easy one based on how good your reasoning is. But we have Rite of Negation. This is a 4 mana fast spell from
Wait, actually,
Shurima. Mm-hmm.
hang on. I'm gonna just go with my instinct and say this
Mm-hmm.
card's great.
You're absolutely correct.
Yes.
Yeah,
I didn't even read it.
this card is meta breaking.
I just was like, this sounds like Pact to Negation.
Yep, that's
We're just gonna go for this.
practically what it is. So yeah, it's a 4 mana fast spell from Shurima that says kill an ally or destroy one of your mana gems to stop all enemy fast, slow spells
Yeah, that's
and
crazy. That's
skills,
nuts.
which is fucking insane.
Yeah.
Traditionally, counterspells don't really exist in Legends of Runeterra. There's only like 4 of them. Ionia has 2. Bandle City has 1, but it's like a what's that spell called? Reprimand, where it returns it to your hand
Gotcha.
instead of truly
Yeah.
countering. This is like the 3rd real counterspell in the game,
Right.
and it's one of the only ones outside of Ionia, and it's
see, I see.
fucking insane. Like
Yeah.
if
Because it's like a silence too.
yeah, because it stops skills on the stack. Yeah. If your opponent like fills up the stack with spells, Ionia can only counter
man.
one of those spells for 4 mana. For Shurima, you absolutely sacrifice one of your mana gems to
Absolutely.
stop all of those. It's not even a
Easy.
question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Rite of Negation is fucking insane. When it was first revealed, it was absolutely broken. It is still absolutely broken. Every single deck that runs Shurima runs like 2 copies of this, at least.
Hell
Like,
yeah.
every single one. Yeah. So, fantastic. Yeah, you got it. Rite of Negation, truly.
My instincts did not lead me astray.
It is very reasonable. Oh, hold on. I'm going to make this card a little bit bigger here. But how about this next one? This is Drum Solo. Drum Solo is a 5 mana burst spell, so your opponent can't react to it. It is from Piltover and Zon. That says,
Okay.
draw 2, flow, reduce those cards' costs by 1. Flowed
Okay.
triggers and remains active if you played 2 spells your last turn. So if you play 2 spells
it.
every single turn, you will always have flow active.
Yeah, I don't know. This seems bad. maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like if I was building deck, well, I don't know, because once you incorporate spell mana, mm, I mean, the draw two, that's never gonna. We like drawing
Drawing
cards,
cards is good,
right?
truly.
Reduce those cards' costs by one. Presumably in a deck where you're playing some flow stuff, you're probably playing some other flow stuff. This card seems to want to play with other flow stuff. I don't know. I'm gonna say it's bad.
All right. I will say this card is meta breaking.
No, this is terrible.
Yeah, yeah. So, this is a reasonably costed draw spell. It's actually a little expensive. For the most part,
Mhm.
drawing two is costed around 4 mana. However, it reduces the cost of your next spells that you
Right.
draw by one each. So, really, it's like a 3 mana draw two,
Fair enough.
and it's halfway to getting flow for next turn, and you just reduce the cost of another spell, which probably only cost 1 or 2 mana, which means
Right.
you guarantee flow if you
Okay.
have any mana
All
left
right.
over.
All right. You sold me on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's very good. I will also say this card literally got nerfed like 4 days ago. It
Oh, for real?
it used to say 5 mana, draw two, flow, reduce those cards' cost by two.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that fucking crazy? I'll say that it might be lowered to good now. I'm really
Right.
not sure, but it definitely was meta breaking.
Right on.
So yeah, very good card. Next up, we're returning to creature, and we're almost done. We've got 3 left, including this one. This is Sandstone Chimera. Sandstone Chimera is a 12 mana 6/6 from Shurima that says I cost 1 less for each time an ally has attacked this game.
Okay. Let me ask you
Yeah,
this.
absolutely.
By, let's say, turn 4 in an aggro deck,
Mm-hmm.
how many times would you say an ally has attacked by turn 4?
Turn 4 in like a hyper aggro deck. Um, 4 or 5,
Okay.
maybe 6, if you got some really low cost
Right.
units.
Because I mean, there is definitely some weight, no matter what it is or who you are, to just the fact that a card can cost 0,
It's
right?
like the giants in Hearthstone.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I played me a lot of Even Warlock back in the
Oh
day.
yeah.
I know the power of a mountain giant. Now, this is based on attacking, which is a inherent, like, categorically more active game
Mm-hmm.
action than simply like drawing a card, right?
Mm-hmm.
There is a risk involved in attacking. Um, like I said, there is some weight for any card that it's like being able to be cast for 0 mana at some point.
Yeah.
Even if a card said like it can only cost 1, just the ability for it to cost 0 is such a huge difference from 1, simply because the information that's available to your opponents.
Mm-hmm.
If you have 0 mana, then really the only information that like a really seasoned player would have is like, well, they probably don't have anything to cast. I guess they could have one of these
Yeah.
few,
Force of
you know,
will.
right, stuff like that. Or I
Yeah.
guess if you're playing against a Shuriman deck, maybe you'll clock that they've got a Sandstone Chimera, but, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is tough.
It's a lot to think about, indeed.
It is. I this one's giving me trouble, Mason, because I just keep looking at it as like well, it is a zero
A
mana
0 mana
6/6.
6/6. Yep, I get you. I get
That
you.
can't be, and that's not ever like a bad, but like you could have other stuff in your deck
Mm-hmm.
that could do more
It's
than that. It,
big,
it
big
has no
opportunity cost. Yeah.
right. It has no keywords. I don't know. Maybe this one's bad.
You are correct. This card is
Yeah.
bad. So yeah, like I said, you'll probably be playing this on turn 5 or 6 for all
Right.
your mana, and then you probably won't be able to cast it for 0 until like turn 7 to 9.
Game's over.
And
Game's
yeah,
over.
and by that point, a 0 mana 6/6 for no with no abilities is just
Right.
bad.
Yeah,
Oh
not enough.
fuck! I forgot to turn on streamer mode. I always forget. Damn
The
it!
D&D channel
I
notification
was gonna say
gotcha.
there's gonna be a ping in the recording now. I gotta kill that. But yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Sandstone Chimera is bad. You're 4 for 8 right
Four for
now.
eight.
You
Right
gotta
on. 1 for 2. We'll take that.
not bad. Next up is a big change of pace. This is our first equipment, which is a relatively new card type. These are Draconic Bands. They are a 4 mana +3/+3 equipment that says my bearer is a dragon and gives it fury. So how equipment works in this game is very similar to Magic.
Yeah.
You attach it to a unit that can be a champion, a regular unit. When that unit dies, the equipment pops off and it goes back to your hand.
Oh, okay.
You can cast equipment using spell mana is a big thing as well.
Got it.
So that's also very important. And finally, the last important thing, Fury is a keyword that says whenever this unit kills another unit, they get +1/+1.
Okay, got it. All right.
So yeah, by default, this is a 4 mana +3/+3 aura that
All
gives
right.
them Fury.
So first thing that I see when I see this, this essentially is a Magic card called Angelic Destiny. It says angel instead of dragon, and it gives like flying and vigilance instead of fury. But this is familiar to me. Now, fury sounds like a pretty dang useful keyword.
Yeah, it's pretty nice to have. Do keep in mind, I should specify, when a unit hits 0 health, it does die. So if your 3/3 with Fury hits a 3/3, even if it kills that 3/3, it's not going to survive and become a 4/1.
Right. So, okay, so the context that I'm seeing this card in is play a dragon that's like mid on turn. Well, I guess you don't need to play a dragon because it makes it a dragon. I was thinking of it the other way around, where it needs to be a dragon.
No, yeah, this can equip to anything and they become a dragon.
Right.
Dragon, like tribal, isn't really that important. I'll just tell you that outright.
Okay.
There's not many cards that are like.
That's good to know.
If there are other dragons on your board, they get +1/+1. There's not really like a dragon lord. There's one, but he's not played, so don't take that into account.
Okay, that's good because I was about to take that into account.
Fair. Yeah, my bearer is a dragon is not a very important line on this card. I'll just tell you that outright.
I'm gonna say that this card is good, and here's why: the fact that this goes back to your hand after something dies. You know, like basically all conversation aside of like just the fact that it does something. And it goes back to your hand.
It's a movable 3/3 aura.
Right, exactly. It's a movable 3/3 aura that you can spend leftover spell mana on. It's always a mana sink. I think this card's good for that reason.
That's very reasonable. I would say this card is mid, but I would put it at high, mid, low, good, somewhere around there. So I'll count that guess for sure.
I'll take that.
The main thing is that it is in Targon, which is like the aura buffing region. That's kind of what they do. And it's pretty good. So, like you said, 4 mana +3/+3, movable, returns to your hand, gives something fury. Like, generically, very good card. You know, honestly, that's about all that can be said for it. It's sometimes it's run in some like fringe Targon decks. Sometimes they run other aura buffers. So I would say, yeah, definitely high mid. It's a reliable card that goes in some decks, but isn't like incredible.
I see. That's and that's what you want an uncommon to be.
That's honestly true. Yeah. That is a common, but
well, whatever.
It was pretty close. Yeah,
I have MMO brain.
That's fair. You see green, you're like,
there's an uncommon's not even a thing. Wait, no, yeah, it is. Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking. I'm on a trading card game podcast.
No, he's done this before, folks. I promise.
Okay, so that's common. Blue is uncommon and purple's rare.
It goes common, rare, epic, and then champion is the orange. Yeah.
So yes is what you're telling me.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's just different words for the same
it just skips
rarities.
one.
Yeah. And that brings us to our final card here. One of the newest cards added, Samira.
I know her.
So, yeah. Samira is a 2-mana 2/2 champion, once again from Noxus, that has Quick Attack, which is the equivalent of First Strike, but only when it's attacking.
Not on defense.
Correct. Quick Attack does not work on defense in Legends of Runeterra. She says, when I'm summoned or when I strike, create a flare in hand if you don't have one. Flare is a 1-mana burst speed spell that says either deal 1 to the enemy nexus or give an ally challenger this round. Again, that's the choose who you block keyword. Her level up condition is once she's seen you play 6+ cards, resets when you start a round with the attack token, which is like every other turn the attack token switches.
Okay.
So it's essentially like when the turn comes back to you in Magic. Her level up is a 2-mana 3/3 with Quick Attack that says when I'm summoned or strike, create a 0-cost flare in hand. And when you play 6 or more cards, rally.
What's rally?
Rally means that you get an attack token, which means that you can attack even if it's your opponent's turn.
I see. Okay.
Keep in mind that if you have an attack token, and you attack, Quick Attack will work, but if they then attack as well, it still won't work on defense. Quick Attack never works when blocking, only when attacking. So.
Alright. This is one of the harder ones. I mean, the champions are always harder just because you have to take into account
for a reason. There's a lot here.
You have to take into account its cost, and then it's like attack and its health when it comes into play. Then you have to take into account how hard is it to level it up and how powerful it is, like how worth it is that to accomplish, right? You play 6+ cards, resets when you start a round with the attack token.
Yeah.
So that means like over the course of like my turn and then your turn, I have the opportunity to play 6 cards.
Correct.
To level this up.
Once it gets back to your turn, that 6 will reset.
Gotcha.
And keep in mind, this level up says I've seen you play 6+ cards. That means Samira has to be on the field. Yeah.
Right. But then once you've done that, any Samira in your deck is already leveled up when you play it, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Also, keep in mind that her level up that says when you play 6 cards, rally, that does not reset at the beginning of the round like Sets does. That is just like you can play 3 cards this round, and then next turn play another 3 cards, and you get to rally.
I have 2 questions.
Yes.
Number 1, by rallying, is it possible to attack multiple times in a turn?
Yes. If you have a leveled up Samira and you don't have the attack token, you can play 6 cards, attack, and then play another 6 cards and attack again.
Okay. Second question.
Yes.
Can you have more than one Samira in play at the same time?
Yes, but very rarely. It's really difficult to get 2 champions on the board at the same time.
All right. Well, I think I'm comfortable saying that this card is... It feels a little bit like I'm walking into a trap. I feel like you might be tricking me. But I think that this card is meta breaking, simply because with the knowledge that you are able to rally multiple times at a turn, it feels like it wouldn't be too hard, especially because Samira grants you 0-cost spells every time she attacks. I feel like you could chain rally enough to get a lot of value out of Samira. So that's what I am saying.
Isaac, this is the best champion in the game right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Samira literally just came out in the last expansion. She is unequivocally the best champion in the game. I do not care what anyone fucking says. She's run in like 25% of decks on ladder, and you can put her in any deck, and the deck instantly becomes better. She is insane.
Does she do the thing that I said she does?
Yeah, she does exactly that. It is so fucking easy to play 6 cards in the span of 2 rounds. It is so easy, and the fact that she gives you one that costs 1 is insane. She is so easy to level, you can usually get her leveled by turn 4, sometimes even turn 3 if you play it really well. And then exactly like you said, you attack, she gives you free flares, you play some cards, and then you attack again, and you're halfway to rallying again the next turn. It is absolutely fucking insane. Another big part of this is that the spell she gives, Flare, since it's burst speed, it doesn't pass priority to your opponents. So if you have 5 cards played with a leveled up Samira and you attack, and then you play a flare and rally again, you can immediately attack without giving them the opportunity to play units or anything again.
Right.
Which is
You have
absurd.
control of the game at that point.
Yeah, you just fucking lose. This card is insane. And somehow, some fucking how, she didn't get nerfed last patch. I have no idea how she dodged nerfs. This card is ridiculous. Yeah.
It's what I like about this card is that it reminds me of the age-old Magic the Gathering aphorism of who is the beatdown.
Mm-hmm.
Samira is the beatdown.
Samira is the beatdown all the time.
This is like the physical, like the most direct embodiment of I'm the beatdown I've ever seen, because this card simply makes you the beatdown. It immediately puts your opponent on the back foot. Right.
Also, a ton of stuff played on turn 1 or 2 when you usually drop Samira, it usually only has 1 or 2 health, which means if you use Flare and instead of pinging the Nexus, you give her Challenger, you can just remove some of their units because she has quick attack and they can't do shit about it.
Yeah. It doesn't even.
Yeah.
Card is good.
Insane. Unequivocally the best in the game. Funnily enough, well, the worst thing they did with Samira, the worst part about this card, is that it's so fun. This card is so fun to play. I hate that they make the best thing in the game just so much fun. But this is the other half of the deck I was talking about a while ago. The main deck on the ladder right now is Fizz Samira, and it's super fucking annoying and terrible to play.
I see already.
And Udyr kills the shit out of it.
That's funny.
Yeah, so that's what I've been playing. I've been playing a fringe, crazy off-meta Udyr Jack deck that is specifically designed to kill Fizz and Samira, and it works wonders. It's beautiful.
That's delightful. That's so funny.
Honestly, not bad. I think you got, what was that? 6 out of 10?
5 or 6 out of 10, yeah.
That's like...
That's much better than I thought I would do.
That's pretty fucking good, yeah.
I came in here expecting to get like 2 out of 10.
Even for the ones that you weren't necessarily correct on, for almost all of them, your reasoning was really solid.
Yeah, well, they gave me a podcast for a reason.
He's on the
By
podcast
which I mean
for
you.
people.
You gave me a podcast.
I gave you a platform. But yeah, that's our fun game. I like that. That was fun.
That was fun.
Very
yeah,
enjoyable. Nicely done, everyone.
I'd do it to you with like Hearthstone or Yu-Gi-Oh or something, but you know more about these games than I do.
True. I was gonna say I haven't played Hearthstone in a while, but I probably do. I'm kind of the card game king, the card game boy. I'm a bitch for those.
True.
But that kind of brings us to the end of the episode. We ended that about perfectly. It's been an hour and 2 minutes.
Well, right on.
We're so good. Anything else you want to add?
Yeah, this is kind of completely. I mentioned this a little bit before we started recording. I just want to shout this out.
Yeah.
Unrelated to anything, apropos of nothing. I just started reading a little manga called Kaiju Number 8. It's really good, and everyone should read it. I like it because it's kind of got a lot of those classic kind of shonen, battle anime kind of tropes, but the main character is 32, which I really like. Sometimes I get a little worn out of teenagers in manga. Just because I want to be able to see somebody I don't know, drink a beer, smoke a cigarette, or
not make the worst decisions known to man.
Right, not make the worst decisions, kiss an adult. I'd like to see any of these things happen. And I get a little bit tired of the 15, 16, 17-year-old characters. The main character is 32. Most of the characters are in their 20s. One of the other main characters is the youngest character in there is 18. That's huge. And then me personally, I love everything kaiju and giant monsters. I was raised on Toho Entertainment and the age-old Godzilla stuff. I have a very loving place in my heart for all of this, and they really do it justice. The illustration in here is truly stunning. Here, actually, Mason, since you're already putting some stuff on screen, can I send you a picture of a thing to put on screen?
Yeah,
because there is one particular panel from one of the I don't know if I'll be able to find it in time.
Oh, fuck you, audio listeners.
Well, tell you what, if I can find it, I'll send it and we can
Yeah,
edit the post or
absolutely.
what have you. But it's oh so good. Kaiju number 8, very good. They're very good illustration, very good. I mean, the plot's nothing groundbreaking, I'll be honest.
But it's good. It's
It's
serviceable.
excellent. It's excellent. And one of my other favorite things about it is that something that I get picky about in manga is even with some of my favorite manga of all time. For example, one of my favorite manga of all time is Tokyo Ghoul. I always had a really hard time figuring out what the fuck's going on a panel in Tokyo Ghoul because it's
Yeah.
like so dark and it speaks to the art style. It's really excellent, and a lot of times it makes for really cinematic moments. But other times it's like trying to discern what's happening with all these really dark lines and stuff. It can be really tough. This is one of the easiest to discern, like fight manga I've ever read. There's big awesome fights all the time, and it's really 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 easy to tell what's happening in them, and it's really excellent.
Hell yeah. Well, I'll probably start reading it before next week, so maybe I'll share my opinion on whether or not I
Yeah.
agree with that by next week. I'm sure I will. This sounds like something I would love. I mentioned
Yeah, hell yeah.
earlier I thought about reading it already.
Yeah, it's really delightful.
Absolutely. Well, that brings us to the end of this week's episode. Go ahead and join us next week for my thoughts on Kaiju number 8, apparently, and whatever
Now
else
you're
we're gonna
committed. Now
do.
you have just committed yourself to that
I
now.
have, yeah. Now I have to read it before then.
Yeah. Guess we got to make a new podcast talk about manga.
Oh God, put your frames on the table. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Maybe you learned a little from
Absolutely.
another card game that you might want to try out. So, yeah, until next time, we'll see you soon.
Bye.